In the early days of the Vietnam War, amid a fierce battle for air superiority, an audacious plan was devised that would forever alter the course of aerial combat. The operation was a high-stakes gamble orchestrated by one of the most influential aviators of our time. It would see F-4 Phantom crews facing off against their Vietnamese foes, piloting the best aircraft of the communist arsenal. This is the story of Operation Bolo. The year was 1966. U.S. involvement in Vietnam was escalating, and control of the skies over North Vietnam was critical to maintaining the upper hand in the conflict. However, the U.S. Air Force faced a deadly challenge: North Vietnam's MiG-21 fish beds. Initially, the North Vietnamese were equipped only with the older MiG-17 Fresco, but by 1966, the Soviet Union had supplied the North with over a dozen brand new MiG-21s. The MiG-21, a sleek and fast Soviet-built jet, was designed for one purpose: to hunt down and destroy American bombers ranging from the lumbering B-52 to the swift but heavy F-105 Thundersheath. Bombing missions over North Vietnam, such as those in Operation Rolling Thunder, were plagued by MiG-21 attacks. The US bombers were vulnerable, and MiG pilots grew bolder, launching hit-and-run raids that took a heavy toll. By the end of Operation Rolling Thunder, the MiGs would contribute to over 900 American aircraft being shot down. Now, the solution at face value would be to bomb the shit out of MiG bases, but that wasn't feasible due to political ramifications. If America attacked a Vietnamese airbase and mistakenly, say, killed the Russian advisor, that could escalate the conflict between the two superpowers. At the end of the day, the only way to stop the MiG threat was to get them in the air. The US Air Force needed a new tactic, something that would draw the MiGs into the open and turn the tables on the North Vietnamese. In the sky, threats can come out of nowhere. Jets have Gucci tools like radar, data link, and RWR to keep them safe. But as a basement-dwelling YouTuber who's never actually been able to fly a fighter jet, I rely on Aura, this video's sponsor. With Aura, you get round-the-clock monitoring and rapid alerts for threats to your identity, finances, and data. Aura stays locked onto threats, intercepting and neutralizing them before they reach you. It's online security that's fast, fearless, and always watches your six. Check out Aura with the free link in the description below. You've got nothing to lose and security to gain. You can also sign up with the code FalconsFighterTales for a free trial today. Don't take any chances with your online security. Trust Aura, the top gun of cybersecurity. Now, let's get back to the show. Enter Colonel Robin Olds, a World War II double ace and commander of the 8th Tactical Fighter Wing, better known as the Wolfpack. When he arrived in Southeast Asia, Colonel Olds was already a legend with a hell of a career to boot. If such a thing as aviation royalty were to exist, Robin Olds would have been a prince. His father, Captain Robert Olds, was an instructor pilot in France during the Great War and later became an aide to Billy Mitchell. As a child, the young Robin grew up at Langley Field, Virginia, right next door to Karl Spatz, who would later become the first Air Force Chief of Staff. Robin was born into aviation, molded by it, and took his first flight in a biplane with his father at age 8. After graduating high school, Olds attended West Point until December 1941. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, Olds was transferred to the Spartan School of Aeronautics for flight training. By May 1943, his flight schooling was complete, and his wings were pinned on by Hap Arnold himself. During World War II, the fighter pilot scored 13 kills in both the P-38 and P-51, making him a double ace. After the war, Olds became one of America's early jet pilots, transitioning to the Lockheed P-80 Shooting Star in 1946. 2 years later, he even had stick time in the Gloucester Meteor as part of an exchange program with the RAF's No. 1 Squadron in 1948. While he missed Korea, Olds built up experience as a jet jockey throughout the 50s and 60s, commanding squadrons in England, Germany, and Libya. By September 1966, when he was assigned to U-Bohn's 8th Tactical Fighter Wing, he became distressed at the lack of experience displayed by American pilots. The new generation of fighter pilots raised in the F-4 Phantom were rarely trained to engage anything more than level-flying bombers. 18 of the 8th had already been shot down in the past 6 months alone. The now Colonel Olds wanted to change that. When he arrived at Ubon, he gathered all the pilots, many half of his age, into the briefing room.
I'm the new guy. You know a lot that I don't know, and I'm here to learn from you. But in 2 or 3 weeks, I'm going to be better than all of you. When I know more about your job than you do, you're in trouble.
For the next several months, Olds passed along his dogfighting prowess to his subordinates, using decades of experience to reinforce his fighter wing skill set. But how would they get the MiGs into a dogfight? The MiG-21s used guerrilla tactics, making slashing attacks at bombers before running for home. If a standard F-4 combat air patrol was spotted, there would be no sense in even trying to come out and play. That's when John J.B. Stone from the 555th Tactical Fighter Squadron came up with an idea to bait the MiGs. Olds dubbed the operation Bolo, named for the iconic Filipino fighting knife. The key to Operation Bolo was deception. Olds and his team would disguise their Phantoms as vulnerable F-105 Thunderchief bombers, the usual targets of MiG-21s. J.B. Stone would work closely with Robin in the mission planning. By flying the same formations, using the same radio calls, and even mimicking the flight paths of F-105s, Olds hoped to trick the MiGs into thinking they were attacking a bomber group. In addition to flying like a Thud, the Rhinos would also carry the QRC-160 electronic countermeasures pod, a device normally used for neutralizing surface-to-air missile radars. The pod, rarely carried on Phantom cap flights, was generally fielded by bombers like the F-105 to offer some protection from the SA-2 Guideline and KS-19 search radars that plagued Vietnam. All in all, from the Vietnamese ground intercept control stations, the Phantoms would mimic well their heavier Thud counterparts. But the reality would be very different. Unlike the slower, bomb-laden Thunder Chiefs, the F-4 Phantoms were fast, more maneuverable, and packed air-to-air missiles. The day of reckoning came on January 2nd, 1967. The skies over North Vietnam were cloudy, and the MiGs, unaware of the trap that had been set, were eager for another chance to strike at American bombers. The Wolfpack's 28 Phantoms were broken up into flights of 4, each using a radio call sign named for a car brand. Vespa, Plymouth, Tempest, Lincoln, and Rambler flights were spearheaded by Ford and, of course, Olds flight. The flights were staggered apart to maximize MiG killing time. At precisely 1500 hours, Olds flight, led by Olds himself, flew a bombing mission profile toward Phu Quyen Airfield, a MiG-21 base. As the Phantoms approached, North Vietnamese radar picked them up. As the MiGs closed in, expecting to find slow, defenseless bombers, they were met with the shock of fully armed F-4s ready for battle. Olds' flight made first contact as a MiG-21 broke through the clouds at Robin's 6 o'clock low. Captain Everett Raspberry, Ford 3, tallied the incoming bandit and radioed a warning to Olds' flight.
Watch it, Colonel. Got a bandit crawling up your ass.
Olds flight, break.
Breaking into 2 elements, the Phantoms split their formation up, leaving the MiG to pursue Olds and his wingman. Breaking back to defend his leader, Lieutenant Walter Redeker achieved a solid lock tone from one of his sidewinders.
Splash! Olds lead! You're clear!
Now clear of the threat, Colonel Olds spotted a pair of MiGs at his 11 o'clock. His wingman, Ralph Wetterhahn, ripple-fired a pair of Sparrows at the lead MiG.
He's down.
Olds bore down on his target, firing once, twice, and 3 times at the trailing MiG, but each one of his missiles failed him, allowing the MiG to escape into the cloud deck. He wouldn't be frustrated for too long, for a 3rd MiG came into view, passing by on his left side. The flying ace lined up on the fishbed's tail, and a 4th missile ran towards it.
Box 2. Last one.
Good shot, Colonel.
Before he could get more kills, Olds was forced to break off when Redeker reported a fuel feed problem. No matter, Forward Flight was just catching up.
Let him have it, Chappie.
Forward Flight, led by Colonel Chappie James, a World War II Tuskegee airman, had already been fired upon by a battery of surface-to-air missiles on their run-in, but ironically enough, the ECM pods their Phantoms had been retrofitted with kept them safe. Every one of the guideline missiles shot past the flight and disappeared into the sky. Once again, Everett Raspberry's keen eye spotted an incoming MiG, this one bound for Forward Flight. Raz, unable to get forward lead to break with him, turned toward the attacking fighter. Finally, Chappie broke into the attacker himself, forcing the bandit to overshoot to the left. Raz's Sidewinder sang to him with a sweet melodic growl.
Fox 2. I got one.
Next came Rambler Flight, led by J.B. Stone, and in a mere moment, 3 more MiGs were obliterated.
Nice, fucker.
It was an absolute slaughter, leading the Vietnamese controllers to command the remaining fish beds to bug out into the clouds. When the dust settled, Operation Bolo was a resounding success. 7 MiG-21s, half of the Vietnamese fish bed fleet, were shot down in the span of just 12 minutes. Operation Bolo had not only reduced the threat from MiG-21s, but also shaken the confidence of the North Vietnamese Air Force. For months afterwards, their MiG pilots were hesitant to engage US aircraft, giving American bombers more freedom to operate. Operation Bolo has since become a legendary in the annals of air combat history. It was a tactical masterpiece, a perfect blend of deception, strategy, and raw power. Colonel Robin Olds, already a hero from World War II, became an icon once more in Vietnam. Operation Bolo is still studied today as an example of innovative leadership and tactical excellence. It's a reminder that, in war, sometimes the best weapon you have is your ability to outsmart your enemy. It did also highlight some of the shortcomings with American missilery in its infancy, as over half of the missiles fired in the engagement failed to hit their target. This would be an issue that would plague Air Force pilots throughout the war. While the Air Force would go on to struggle against the growing experience of their communist foes, Operation Bolo was a day of victory that is still celebrated as an Air Force legend. Of course, the operation cemented Robin Olds into Air Force history. That being said, he couldn't have accomplished the mission without a star-studded cast of squadron mates. Forward leader, Chappie James, would go on to become the first African-American 4-star general in the US Air Force, commanding NORAD in 1975. He would proudly serve until 1978, when he would pass away from a heart attack just 3 weeks after retiring. Everett Raspberry would leave Vietnam after fulfilling his 100-mission tour with 2 MiG kills under his belt. He would leave the Air Force in 1977 as a colonel and go on to work for Armament Systems Incorporated. He passed away in 2019. John J.B. Stone, one of the planners of the operation and Rambler Flight's lead, scored a MiG kill during the engagement. For his contributions to the Air Force, the Captain John Stone Award would be created in his name for outstanding mission planners at the Red Flag exercise. Robin Olds would continue to serve in Vietnam, claiming 4 MiG kills. When he finally retired in 1973, he had served for over 3 decades. He passed away peacefully in June 2007, but as the saying goes, legends never die. The 8th Fighter Wing still exists today. They're stationed at Kunsan Air Force Base in Korea, their F-16 sporting a bold WP on the tail for Wolfpack. Even now, the echoes of Operation Bolo are reflected in its pilots and their motto, Attack and Conquer. Thank you all for watching, and remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more stories like this one. A special thanks goes out to my Ace of Aces tier on Patreon who, as always, help me keep continuing this line of work. I really can't do it without you guys. Thanks to Captain Fantastic, Chuck45, Deuce, Ghoul, Iron, Jake Fuentes, Kodai, Chris Quinn, Pecops, Private Petey, Shockwave, Aspen, Tico, and Weavy. Keep that sun at your back, guys, and you have a good one. how are you and your men feeling about today's engagement?
Well, we came to play, and it all brings down to practice how you play. And my old football coach, Gary Sweatland, used to tell me back in little old Western New York, and they're doing great work on this side of the planet. A lot of people like me are happy to be here and happy to be doing the things that we're doing. God bless America. Can I get a cigarette now?